And we are live. Hello, world. I'm coming to you today to discuss very briefly and educate a little bit between the COVID 19 PCR test versus the rapid antigen test, also known as the speed test. So many people are running out to get these speed tests, and I just wanted to give you that education behind waiting to the last minute to go on a vacation and grabbing one of those speed tests versus a PCR test. I'm bringing this to you also as a fellow human. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the ideas of we're all in this together. Well, while I'm not going to get political about this whatsoever, we are all in this world together. We have each other. So we can either continue to fight each other in negative, harmful ways, or we can all work together for the betterment of human society. And that is a big pill to swallow, is it not? Because we have this innate sense of survival. If any of you watch the horrific series Squid Games, no matter how close you get to somebody, at the end of the day, people are going to attempt to survive for their own. People are going to be getting nasty because they're in survival mode right now, which is uncharacteristic of themselves. Advice, which you didn't ask for, let them be, let them do them. You do you. Grab this information right now so you can make the best choices for yourself and those that rely on you for their own care. There's a lot of misinformation that goes on about testing, PCR, rapid test, and there are some weaknesses of both of them. And there's also some strengths. So let's go into the strengths versus weaknesses so you can make the best choice for yourself possible. Let's go with the rapid test first, okay? The one I'm not a fan of whatsoever. Big surprise. I can easily fool a test by dunking the swab in soda, Coca-Cola, Red Bull. I could even dunk it in an alcoholic beverage. This is vodka, whiskey, and brandy. Mineral water. By changing the pH of the actual test, you can throw off the entire test totally. So if your kid is trying to get out of going to school that day and they're going to take a rapid test to get into school, all they've got to do is before they take the test, dunk it in some soda, and guess what? Positive test for them. They get a couple weeks out of school. Lucky them. Hopefully, it's some nice weather for them. So, what is cheap is not always good, and what is good is not always cheap. There's a barber shop next to us that has a sign that says, "Good haircuts are not cheap, and cheap haircuts are not good." Exactly what I just said, right? Do you want to get your haircut by somebody who's never been to barber school, who has never cut hair in their lives, and you've got a big event that you want to go out to, you want to look your best, you just bought this brand new suit or this gorgeous new dress, you're ready to go out and you get a butchered haircut. That goes along with, well, fill in the blank. Talk about your drinks, water that comes out of the faucet, your phones, your clothes, anything. There's a difference between overpricing and just straight up cheap. Cheap is going to fall apart. Cheap is crap. Do you want cheap in your body? Do you want to make decisions on cheap? That's what a rapid antigen test is. It may be fast, but it is cheap. And the odds of you getting an accurate result are far less than taking a PCR test. Now, while PCR is supposed to be the gold standard, they've never been designed to be used as a diagnostic tool at all because they can't distinguish between inactive viruses or live reproductive ones. So you can have a dead virus in your body. You just defeated this thing. You win. Good job, you. However, you take the PCR test and it's picking up the dead virus in your body and it's giving you a positive test. You're fine. You're good to go. But it's giving you false results. That does happen. Like I said, PCR test was not initially designed as a diagnostic tool, but we're doing the best we got with what we have for diagnosing. I know I always put out 28 cycles, 30. Amplification. So how a PCR, polymerase chain reaction, actually works. So you got to heat it, cool it, heat it, cool it. You do this super, super, super fast. It can take hours to get this done and get this done right. So when you do it too fast over 35 cycles. A lot of labs use 45 cycles of doing this. It amplifies any tiny sequence of viral DNA here that might be present to the point that the test reads positive. Even if you have an inactive or low viral load that is not transmissible whatsoever, it's clinically insignificant in your body. I mean, our bodies are filled and riddled with viruses, bacteria, fungus. We just want to keep that goal of being in proper homeostasis. I mean, think about the billions and trillions of microbiota, even in our own bodies as is. If there's an imbalance of one, you get sick. You got strep and staph being carried around in you right now, but in the proper balance, they're beneficial for your body. Out of whack, you're in the hospital. Same thing here. However, we're picking up things that are not accurate. So that's a little education for you. Just because you pop hot on a test, you may not be hot, especially if you're asymptomatic. And there's reasons I'm getting to this, so hold on. I'm not telling you don't get a test whatsoever. The PCR test also picks up other coronaviruses. Yet there's not just one here. There's hundreds of different coronaviruses. One of them complements its brother, sister, you want to call it, of the rhinovirus, also known as the common cold. You can have a common cold. Your taste is affected, your smell is affected, you're all clogged up, you feel miserable, you're fatigued, you're out of breath constantly, something's just not right. It could be the common cold, presenting itself not as a rhinovirus, but as a coronavirus. Not the same SARS virus that is going around rampant, known as a pandemic today. And know that millions of people are simply carrying an inactive viral DNA that pose zero risk whatsoever to anyone. Yet, these positive results are actually being used by the global technos, technocracy to implement a brand new economic and new system and way of doing things that gets political. And I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. We're educating you right now. So, how is a PCR test actually done? A lot of people don't have any idea, so bear with me for 10 seconds here. They're testing for SARS-CoV-2, which, as we just also brought up, can test for a myriad of other viruses as well. Billions of copies are made of the virus and then can be seen with fluorescent dye. It's easy peasy. If you're making these copies and there's nothing to copy, then nothing will pop up. If there's copies of something made, even if it's inactive and dead, it will pop up. Hope that makes sense. One reason the CDC has actually changed its rules to not require testing for COVID-19 infection after quarantine is that the PCR test can also be used to determine a ineffective virus showing it's positive for up to 12 weeks. So you may have been sick. You are now better. Virus is dead, but for 12 weeks afterward, it's still showing as positive. That is going to throw off numbers. That's going to throw off your life a lot, isn't it? I mean, you may be ready to go and attack the grocery stores, go out to a game, get a nice meal with some loved ones at a restaurant, be at work, this and that, but you're being told you can't simply because of the fact that you already defeated the virus. It's non-transmissible. Sucks. But that is one of the side effects, negative effects. Rapid test is not any better. So that's that. The rapid antigen tests may also be less sensitive to the Omicron variant, according to the CDC director, Dr. Walensky. But even so, if you test negative on a rapid test and you have symptoms, they're asking you to get the PCR test anyway. Then, if you have symptoms and test positive on the PCR test, you just don't have to retest after you've already quarantined, as long as positivity rates for the PCR tests, and I'm going to quote, would have people in isolation for a very long time if they were relying strictly on PCRs. Getting tested is a risk versus reward thing. Always has been, always will be, not a political thing. You're not doing justice to those around you by getting tested. I ask you, case in point, if you came down with what you thought was a cold or a flu or pneumonia in the past, were you getting a test? Reason, no. I mean, chances are you weren't. Simply because by the time the test results come back, your body's already defeated it. Are you going to get a injection for malaria if you live in the Northeast United States? Chances are not. That risk versus reward ratio. So when getting tested, and it is costly. If your insurance is picking it up, they're only going to pick it up so much. But over time, the insurance companies are still having to pay out. Premiums are going to have to be driven through the roof across the board. Risk versus reward ratio. Is getting sick going to kill you? Is getting sick going to alter your life or the lives of so many others? These are personal questions that need to be answered by you, obviously. Do the right thing for you. Do the right thing for your family. Hopefully, this has been educational for you. Hopefully, this has brought a little bit of light on rapid testing versus PCR testing. Again, rapid testing, it's quick, it's cheap. The chances of you getting a accurate result is far slimmer than actually doing a PCR test. And when making that decision on which test to get or even to be tested, very personal decision for yourself. And do you really need to do it every single day, every single week, and so forth? Personal decisions. If you have any questions, please feel to reach out and ask. I will give you only what I can find in the scientific research after I peer reviewed it. I'm not just going to give you a bunch of mumbo jumbo. He said, she said, this came off of the CDC website. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to make sure that the actual facts get to you in the way that they're determined and desired and really want to get to you. Be a better version of yourself each and every day. Happy New Year, y'all. Live functionized.